people still consider this operated as the worst album, which is, how could you when this exists? I mean, holy shit. Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by I'm jealous of his shirt co-host, Alexander Volts. Say hello.
Hello.
This is Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. That's a whole new discography per episode. And today we're going to be discussing every album by
The Doors.
Oh, who? Never heard of them. Oh, must be some new up-and-coming band that no one in the world likes, especially not in East LA where I grew up.
We went real obscure on this one.
This is we've been doing this podcast for years now, and this is one of the ones that everyone asked for, and we just never did. And
I guess it's been so long.
There's been a number of no one's paid us for it. That's the only reason. Well, technically, this is I think this was also on our Patreon poll, so I technically pulled it out of there.
Yeah.
The Doors. Everybody loves the Doors. Everybody knows the Doors. There's not even much to talk about. Unless you're, I don't know, from a very tiny foreign country for some reason, and hearing this podcast and not knowing the Doors. I don't know, dude. I'm assuming you like them.
I was fond of them as a young lad.
Yeah, it's one of the. I guess our generation, it was like kids' music. You grew up with it,
and I had no desire to listen to them as
a teenager
or young
adult.
Getting older.
Okay.
As an older adult.
So you mean now then? You mean you have no interest in hearing them now?
Like in the past, 10 years or so.
Yeah, same. I was bombarded with, and literally, we both grew up in East LA, but you were more on the Asian side of town. I was more on the Mexican side of town.
Yes.
And boy, do East LA Mexicans love them some Doors. It's the Doors and the Smiths. Check out that episode. And the Doors makes more sense than the Smiths.
Yes.
I think it makes way more sense. But it was just overwhelming. It's like you can't escape anything without hearing every fucking Doors song. And I mean, they were a great band. I liked them growing up, whatever. But you definitely my entire adult life, I had no interest, not even bothering to go back. So this is fun. This is very interesting. What are your thoughts now as a grizzled vet?
Now I find them kind of boring.
I wasn't gonna go. Oh, fuck. Shit. I didn't think we were gonna go there.
I think there's one album I really like. And then doing what we do on this podcast, I was like, man, it feels like they're falling apart, but maybe it's just in my head. And then going through the history.
They were falling apart almost immediately. Within a year, they were falling up. But okay, that's fascinating. Yeah, and I'm a little saddened by the I don't want to say jaded, but it seems a little jaded.
Yeah, I think we make our playlist, which listeners can check out on The Doors. And I think they're more like a playlist band to me. Not even greatest hits, just what I want, and then one album.
I disagree. This is a band where this is not a semi-controversial. This is a very controversial opinion, and how I don't really care much for Jimi Hendrix. I think he's amazing, and the first album I think is one of the best records of the era. But I found as a whole catalog and be that's kind of he's a great guitarist, but I didn't care much for his songwriting. This is one I was expecting wholeheartedly to feel the same. Overrated. There obviously some good stuff in there. Listening as an adult, I understand why they're so beloved. They were a truly, truly special band. I think in terms of style and personality that no one really did. And if you're bombarded with it like I was as a kid, or anybody is at this point, you forget that no one sounded like this. Yeah, there's such a weird warmth.
Because now it's been done to death.
Yeah, but at the time it's this is, I guess, a rock and roll band, but it's loungier and darker and kind of, I don't know, and just the implementation of the keys alone is such a nice little, I don't want to say spin, but it just gave it a different taste. And I really love them for that. Even if I know there's a lot of stuff I don't like, but goddamn, do I respect the hell of it, and I like them more as an adult now. I think
it was also very interesting hearing like these conscious decisions they made to be different, because I think they could have totally fallen in the trap of sounding even more like, like the Rolling Stones, Densmore would go on to say about not having a bass player, that like it was like, no, we got our keys, with Ray on the keyboards. That's what makes us unique. We don't need,
and that's a huge part of it. But I will not ever shy away from giving credit to goddamn Robby Krieger. Holy shit, this dude's songwriting is truly, he really is a great songwriter, and doing stuff that was, when you hear a style like that, you expect the songs to go one way, and they always just did something a little different. And he's like the song. He is the Doors. Everyone obviously looks at Jim Morrison, and people really look at Ray as like one of the big guys. And he didn't fucking write that much. He just played the keys. Sorry, but Robby, he did so much of their absolute best stuff. He's responsible for like their best stuff.
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, Morrison's lyrics are obviously legendary,
and his voice itself is very good. Yes,
and I think I took some of the lyrics for granted because they're so ingrained in pop culture. But like, if you just kind of sit down and isolate them, like he really did have a way with words on certain songs.
Like, as much as I hate the idea of legendary musicians, and especially when they die young, they have to be cemented in stone as geniuses. When I think of now, after all this and doing all the like reading all these notes and this history, I just feel bad for him. It's just like, oh, this dude was just an alcoholic and no one helped him because of the time he lived in and the people he had around him. And he didn't have to die that young.
No, it's one sexy man elevated a really mid band.
I disagree. I disagree entirely. No, Robby's the fucking man. God, you're crazy, dude. Even after fucking being smothered by these songs, I can't not give it up. Like, this is just, it's so well done. And as albums, I think they never made a perfect album. Every album is flawed, even the absolute best ones that I do love. But you pick out their best songs, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
There are unique things. There's a reason some songs have been sampled to death. So
yeah.
Another random thing I was thinking about was like, it's been a lot of young rappers who passed away this year, and like how I guess that ship has sailed for me. It's not my music, but how their deaths will probably, for good or bad, elevate those rappers maybe into legendary status. So
it seems to do the trick for a lot of people, not all of them, but
yeah.
Many.
So that was also not a random thought I had while listening to this, but kind of thinking about the times we're currently in. For example, like it's that group Migos. It's so funny how like everyone like makes fun of them, and it's like simplistic rapping.
As they should. Yeah.
But then I apologize. I forgot which member of Migos died, but then he dies, and now it's like, oh, Migos, like.
It's because there's also like the what would they have done next?
Yeah,
like, there's also that, but a lot of times, I mean, I probably mentioned it before, but it was an old Doug Stanhope joke where he's mocking the people that said, Cobain and Hendrix, like they had so much more to give, and he's like, how do you know? Maybe they're out of shit.
Maybe, yeah.
And honestly, for a lot of them, it's like, yeah, I mean,
we've covered a lot of bands who ran out of shit.
And I do truly believe. The Doors were one of those. I believe Jim Morrison was out of shit.
Yeah.
By the end of it, it's not that I think like they were suddenly bad, but looking at the trajectory, it's clear like the incredible stuff was fucking hyper focused into the first year that they existed. And then everything after that was like, let's try this. And then there's input from this guy. And then, fuck it. We're doing horns now. You know what? We're blues again. Like, it just felt less
all over the place.
It felt less passionate.
Went from a scenario of extreme teeth cutting scenarios into, oh, we're famous and this guy's fucking strung out.
Oh, to say the least. But we have plenty of notes here from our history man, Tom Osman. And boy, oh boy, where to even start? So he got like the vast majority of his notes he pulled from John Densmore. I can't say names. Riders on the Storm. Yeah, Riders on the Storm. My Life with Jim Morrison and the Doors, which came out in 1990. Drummer John Densmore, for those who don't know, and 2005's Jim Morrison Life, Death, Legend by Stephen Davis. And as a whole, and the reason he pulled it directly from those is because we're not going to be, obviously, in case you couldn't tell by now, we're not going to be Morrison worshiping here. We don't really give a fuck. We care more about the music and what happened as the whole band and their journey as musicians or something. And Densmore, his name sounds weird when I say it. Densmore. It sounds wrong, even though it's completely not wrong.
Yeah.
Densmore's book seems a lot more focused on the band as a whole in like, his perspective of what happened.
All the cliche stuff from Venice Beach, California.
Oh yeah.
Met at UCLA. All the cool known spots in LA.
Yeah, that was Morrison and then Ray Manzarek. So the lineup everyone knows: Jim Morrison, Ray Manzarek, John Densmore, Robby Krieger.
Mm-hmm. I think something interesting in these early days was and kind of seems unnecessary, but maybe Morrison's parents were not nice to him. I don't know, where he just cut off all communication.
This is crazy. So this is from Stephen Davis. He says, when Jim joined the Doors and began performing in public, he abruptly severed all contact with his family and never saw his parents again. His early act was a graphic pull no punches rewrite of the ancient Oedipus legend, which he's saying of killing his father and fucking his mother in front of tens of thousands of his fans. He wasn't as explicit, but it was heavily implied. And even when there were a lot of quotes of him explaining like the song of the end and the Oedipus stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's way less literal, obviously. Like, anybody who thinks like, no, he wanted to fuck his mom. Like, no.
Yeah.
And he explicitly, it's a whole thing. And dorks about Jim Morrison probably already know that, but.
And then the other thing I think was interesting before we get to the albums was their time spent at a little venue called the London Fog.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're jumping way ahead. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about because during like the later, criminal trial stuff that we'll obviously get into, he told Jim Morrison apparently told his lawyer, Max Fink, that he had bedwetting trauma and was molested as a kid. When he was trying to get like, why the fuck are you doing this crazy shit?
Yeah, why are you acting?
I was touched, dude. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
And it seems kind of like, oh yeah, he doesn't talk to his family. He has this weird fascination with the Oedipus stuff. He's a maniac. Mm-hmm. That adds up. And apparently in like 65, he started taking daily doses of LSD. Never really ate. Wrote feverishly in his notebooks, and I don't know. And that's one of the time that he met Ray at UCLA. Yeah, Ray got John Densmore, and then didn't know any guitar players, and he's like, "Fuck it, let's just get your boy. Let's get your boy Robby in there."
Yeah,
and well, that was the guy to get.
Oh yeah, and then it's also interesting about how like you have Morrison, who's this, pretty much the face of the band, and then Robby is this shy and reserved and
genius of the band,
like anti rock and roll guitar player. It sounds like.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's ever spoken, and
not a word in his life.
Not one. He does sing on one song in a later album, which is like, who the fuck's that dork? It's like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah. I forgot about this. Jim wrote to his dad. He wrote to his dad saying that he was going to get into music, and his dad's like, yeah, you suck, dude. No, well, probably didn't say that, but didn't believe in him. And then later on, like years later, he's like, I was wrong. My bad. Obviously. So yeah, they settled on Ray playing bass with his left hand and lead keys with his. Did the phone fall? No, your iPad fell.
Not the phone this time. Yeah. I'm going to fix that one day.
Yeah, so that was like their little hook. And like, well, we don't want to get a bass player. I think they thought they sounded too much like every other rock and roll band. How can
Which
we?
is smart.
It actually is. Even if there is a little bit less bottom with just what the hell did Ray play to get that sound?
The Rhodes.
It was an
Fender
organ.
Rhodes.
Yeah.
The name, The Doors.
Oh yeah, the name, The Doors. What the fuck was it based on?
Huxley book called The Doors of Perception, which apparently this conversation took place while riding around in a car, smoking
Jays.
Smoking reefer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they were trying to do it covertly in the car. It's not surprising when you know who Jim Morrison is that he gets the idea from a book like that. Because when you hear the name of The Doors on the surface, it just sounds like another standard, stupid 60s band name. Mm-hmm. And it's not even a bad name. It's just like, what the fuck other stupid ass 60s band, the Strawberry Alarm Clock, like stupid fucking names like that.
Yeah.
The 13th Floor Elevators. Come on, check out that episode.
That's better.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad name, but it's just a 60s name. But of course, there's like more to it than that because there always is.
You throw in one of the most interesting sci-fi authors with Huxley in there. So
I've never read anything by him.
Yeah, he's I guess there's a reason his books have been quoted to death. But good reads.
Good reads. What other books has he done?
Brave New World. Yes.
Oh.
I brain farted. Always get Brave New World 1984 mixed up.
That's a pretty big book.
Yeah. Very kind of similar subjects, but yes, Brave New World's the other big one.
One thing that I didn't know about this until doing this episode, Morrison being the complete opposite human being as Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction. He and as our boy Tom puts it, and as you mentioned to us recently, Dave Matthews move. Everybody gets paid equally.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty badass.
That's pretty badass considering I could see, because we've covered where egos come in, like in Jane's Addiction.
Yeah.
And things aren't fair. And I like that all four of them are equals.
Even though they are not. It is entirely Morrison and Krieger. But although, of course, the other two contributed just significantly less, at least from a writing standpoint. There's like stuff that Ray did that's like paramount to whatever. But
the man,
and I do love Densmore.
Kind of important to their
He's extremely important. I don't mean to keep shitting on Ray Manzarek. I love X. Okay, come on. But and I actually do really love Densmore's playing as well.
He's just really like solid in the pocket. He does like little flourishes, but he never has like big, elaborate drum fills or anything.
No,
this guy knows his place.
He knows his place, but also he has a personality to his playing too, and he has a certain bag of tricks that I happen to like.
Yeah,
that he returns to quite a bit. But now we're back to where you began, the London Fog. Now explain.
Yes, they were paid $10 a piece, which according to Desmond, is way below union.
You mean Densmore?
Densmore. Now
there it is.
Way below union scale. And it was from 9 p.m. till 2 a.m. So that's I love this, the way he worded this, 5 hours of hardcore lounge music.
That's what he called it? Jesus Christ. First of all, it sounds like a nightmare, but also $10 for 5 hours is pretty brutal.
But it made them razor sharp.
Yeah.
It talks about how like tiny this 10-foot stage was.
Yeah, super sardines in there,
and all the like savory characters that were in there from sailors.
You mean unsavory?
Sorry, no, they're savory.
I want to eat me some sailors, dude.
These are savory characters. So, man, what a crazy place. And apparently, it was just a hop and a skip away from the whiskey. So it's interesting how one is a fucking dump and the other is this illustrious.
That's a lot of LA where you're all in the middle of a giant dumpster, but this one is making a ton of money and has a bunch of people in this place is just run down and full of rats.
And now the whiskey is the London Fog.
Is it that bad now?
It's probably not that bad, but in terms of booking bands that matter, they don't.
I haven't even thought about the whiskey in at least a decade. I forgot about I haven't been there since I was like 17.
I feel like it's mostly a pay to play venue for local bands.
So in other words, they just shot on their entire reputation
or if you're a wrestler in a band, I feel like wrestling bands always play there. I know Fozzie's played there and Jeff Hardy's band has played there. So
woof. Jesus Christ. I didn't even know Jeff Hardy had a band, but why? That's not surprising.
It's something stupid like Proxy Y-Gen, and there's a question mark in the middle of it, and it's awful. It's fucking awful.
But he has makeup and he dances with his hands and he thrusts.
Jeff Hardy's is one of the most beloved wrestlers of all time, but don't make music, and please stop doing drugs and drinking, Jeff.
That dude has a problem. Okay, so yeah, this is where they got all their shit. This club. I mean, they were eventually fucking kicked out of this place too, right?
It sounds like Morrison's like slipping bandmates drugs against their will.
Well, the story, and it's a fucking great story. This is the one that Densmore says where Morrison was a big fan of poppers. I don't even know if poppers are still around, but you know,
I believe they are.
Yeah, the little thing you sniff them and then you turn into some sort of Super Saiyan. So they're in the middle of one of the Light My Fire solos that goes on for 35 minutes, and Densmore says Jim whirled around from the microphone and stuck an Amy, which what they called them
at the time.
Yeah, for what's the full name from? Oh, amyl nitrates. Amyl nitrates.
Yeah.
That's like the real name for poppers. Yeah, so I stuck an Amy under my nose. I tried to squirm away without getting up or stopping the song. I doubled over with laughter. My sides hurt. I could barely hold on to the drumsticks. Jim turned to Robby, but Robby, being mobile with his guitar cord, got away. Ray was next. Like me, he couldn't leave his instrument. He was laughing hysterically as Jim staggered toward him, leaned over the keyboard, and stuck the Amy under Ray's nostrils as Ray swayed back and forth trying to avoid the popper. His hands flailed wildly at the organ, and the tempo of Light My Fire sped up deliriously. That's fucking hilarious.
I mean,
that sounds so fun.
Also, on a stage that small, there's really nowhere to
go.
And yes, I see now they were fired.
They were fired. How'd they get fired?
Does not specify.
All right. Ronnie Herron, who's apparently some hot blonde, she booked them at the whiskey, and that was it. They were at the whiskey now.
Yep.
And then they opened for Zappa and Miller's Invention, Them, The Animals, Buffalo Springfield, and Beefheart. Check out that episode.
And apparently new Beefheart. I did not know that.
Huh?
And they were.
Oh yeah, they hung out with Don Beefheart, which is fucking wild. Like I had no idea. Densmore talks more about. He says that Don Van Vliet, alias Captain Beefheart, was eccentric but instantly likable. He had a unique sense of humor. Don did a monologue in the dressing room before their show about his toothbrush, and it's the most Beefheart thing I've ever fucking heard.
He would.
Very bizarre. The man could rap about anything and make it fascinating. Once on stage, his howlin' wolf voice had us in awe. I had a gut response to his blues-based music more so than the folk rock songs. Oh, folk rock groups like the Byrds. Yeah, I think I heard in passing that they were friends with Beefheart, but that's so wild. I mean, such
two completely different.
So different. So fucking different. But it's quite endearing that they knew each other. Yeah, Zappa and Terry Melcher of the Byrds wanted to produce the band, but they were like they were, I guess, biding their time or holding their breath for a record label, which came true with Elektra.
Came a knocking.
Boy, Elektra. Oh man, I have thoughts about this record label.
They have so many like legendary acts, but I don't know what they do these days.
I don't know either.
I probably not the person you want to talk to about popular newer acts. So
yeah, neither of us. I didn't know that fucking Arthur Lee of Love is who got them signed to Elektra.
I have no idea who that is.
The Love?
Never list.
The band, you know who they are though, right?
Do I?
Forever Changes? You don't know Love?
No.
They're one of the most like influential American 60s bands ever.
Never listened to them.
I've talked about Love a lot on this podcast. See, he doesn't listen to me.
Not a word.
You know Love, dude. You gotta know Love.
Maybe if I heard it, I would. But
oh, it's crazy. So Forever Changes is one of the best fucking albums that come out of the 60s, and it destroyed the band. Like it was that album is like the prime example of don't ever overhype anything, because like
I'm gonna add it.
They went nuts with promotion. They had billboards. I think they were like the label was trying to compare it to like, oh, this is America's Sgt. Pepper's, and like it came out and it's just an album full of these really pretty, well written songs. That's not exactly like wild or crazy.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, this blows, and I think they like destroy the band.
This does sound familiar now.
Yeah,
this does sound familiar.
It's one of my favorite albums of all time, and it's pretty beloved.
Forever Change. There it is.
And they have a lot, like they're a really good band overall. It's one that we've been asked to cover in the past. But yeah, it's crazy that I didn't know that he basically got the Doors their label, their label deal. But
pretty great.
At the time, Elektra was smaller, which is funny because after the Doors, they were not small anymore.
No, this is a big band from the get-go pretty much.
Our boy Tom said that they chose Elektra specifically because it was smaller, which is so funny to think that that is a reason Elektra was chosen as a label, is because they were smaller.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So we're going to
start I guess one other person to bring up.
Big person to bring up.
Yeah, longtime producer Paul Rothchild.
Basically the fifth door, so to speak, for almost every album. He's the guy who, I mean, he was paramount. And it seems like, even if you look at how crazily Morrison deteriorated, I almost feel that double to Rothchild. In like his methods with the band, like how much he kept going off in this direction. Like, dude, rein it back, dude. Bring it back in. Like, holy shit.
He went full Dewey Cox. Or Brian Wilson.
Well, Brian Wilson's a crazy man. He's literally mentally ill. That's his excuse. Shit. But this is from Densmore. He says, the first few days were frustrating because recording wasn't the same as playing live. Rothchild held our hands as we learned the process. I didn't know you couldn't have the same sound as on stage. Too live and echoey, Rothchild said. Paul wanted to damp my drum skins and it hindered my technique, but after a while I fell in love with the big snare drum sound it made. A fatter, dead drum sound recorded better than a live and hollow one. So that kind of alone explains he's literally teaching them how to record. And from the onset, even though we hear the first album and we hear how like live and raw it is, there's still like, an actual bass player on there. It's not just the live band. Yeah. We never get the live band on any album.
Yeah. They would use studio bass players.
Yeah. Like throughout. A number of them. And then whole kinds of other, instruments and stuff. So I haven't heard any live stuff in the Doors. I don't think ever.
Neither have I.
I'm sure it's a very, very different thing, especially the drunker Morrison got.
Yeah, probably not going to seek it out now, but if you hear something cool, let me know so I cannot listen to you. And then a few podcasts down the line, be like, no, I had no idea. God damn it.
Fucking, why do I do this? There's some Andy Warhol stuff where that's another big long-standing rumor thing where some people think like Jim Morrison or got blown by Andy or something. I don't know if that's actually not the story. Something like that. He met Andy Warhol at this thing and it changed everything.
You know what? If you were doing a lot of drugs in the 60s and 70s and you didn't get blown by Andy Warhol, what were you doing?
Failing,
I think.
That's what I think. Is that where he met Nico?
It sounds right because Nico and Andy Warhol, as we know,
of course,
similar circles.
Velvet Underground episode, check that out from a million years ago. And they were banging for a bit. I'm pretty sure Jim and Nico.
Damn, what two beautiful, sexy people! Just
that's
too much.
You have to avert your eyes; you'll be blinded by the beauty.
There's a reason they both had to go downhill fast because it's too much.
When did Nico die?
I'm not sure.
It wasn't like I think immediately, was it?
No. And
honestly, I have no idea. I didn't even know she was dead until you said that right now.
She might be alive.
She might be alive.
I shouldn't have said that. Nope, she died in the 80s.
80s. All right, there it is. We're not that far off. But she was in love with him. Shocker. But that basically leads up to the first album. It was recorded very quickly. It was a whole new thing. And Well, I guess I'm surprised we're there already.
Yeah, let's do it.
So in there, well, okay, another huge asterisk that I forgot to mention up top. We are discussing every album with Morrison.
Yes.
Both Alex and I didn't even know that they continued for 2.5 albums after he died.
And I bet you motherfuckers didn't either.
Except for the Psychos, who are huge fans. We didn't know that. And then we still could have done them because we learned pretty early on. We will do loose ends on them because really it would be, we know that one of those is the worst.
Yes.
Like that's not fair. It's a whole different thing. And I think this is the stuff people care about anyway.
Yes. I think it would be funner to talk about them separately, especially as we've loosened our rules on this podcast. So.
Indeed. So for in total, the albums that we're going to be covering today, there are 6. First one came out in 1967. Last one, 1971. A very brief career these guys had.
What a whirlwind. They must have just been recording and touring all the fucking
non-stop, pretty much. But yeah, I guess it's time to go, baby. It's time to go. This is the first album, 1967's self-titled. No one's ever heard this song before.
Not once.
And you really hear what year it is in this production.
Yeah.
It's so thin.
Because, it's like the drums, it's so, like how important the drums are to the intro of this song, and now they're like, are drums very important here. Main chorus, this fade in the background.
They're buried. But that guitar riff in that chorus is incredible. It's just crazy wild arpeggio.
That is also kind of very...
It is. It's just a lot of distortion.
Yeah.
And then honestly one of the best key solos ever.
Yeah.
This is really, Even after 30 years of hearing this, I got to give it up. All right, we've all heard it. We all know it. That's a very good solo and a good song. It's actually very good opener.
Yeah. One of the best openers. I mean, it's called Break On Through to the, like, I can't think of a better.
Yeah.
I mean, there are, but.
Yeah, but it is fantastic. And this is
the tone.
A very good album. I don't think it's perfect at all, but this is like what everyone thinks of when they hear the Doors or when they think of the Doors. Like this, almost every song on here
probably has the most like people pleasing songs.
This is the one you put on and everyone knows every song and they're all fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was kind of taken aback by Soul Kitchen. I was like, I know that's a beloved song, but the keyboard playing on there, I was like, pretty
very good. It's very loungy. It's like the sound that made the Doors, and very loungy. I keep saying loungy, but it has that jazziness to it, even though it's something else entirely. I prefer the X version. I actually like X's cover of it more than the original. Different song, basically a different song entirely.
I think that's fair. That's one of the songs where I got like hung up on the lyrics because like I couldn't like sleeping in a kitchen sounds extremely funny to me, but we just kind of accept this song as normal and say those words.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I'm like, sounds uncomfortable, but maybe a Soul Kitchen has some sort of bed or couch in it that's more comfortable.
Maybe. Why not?
It's a Soul Kitchen. It's totally different.
Jesus Christ. But it has fucking dim lighting with lava lamps everywhere.
Hell yeah.
The Crystal Ship, even though I have like semi problem with like a song that mellow being that close to the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's fucking gorgeous. Mm-hmm. It's
appropriately titled.
Oh yeah. So dark, so mellow and soft, but insanely well written. And also with this album, what almost every album does, they are really, really good with the diversity. Mm-hmm. Like, and I do mean in feel, because the opener is this hard rocking, good time, high energy, and then Soul Kitchen is this loungy, more jazzy thing, and then Crystal Ship is this beautiful, dark. They all feel so distinct.
They do. Although I think later on they
eventually fall into some trappings, but for a lot longer than I was expecting, there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah. I think Light My Fire is the most Doorsy song on here.
Light My Fire. I mean, it really is one of the best songs ever written, I think.
It's jammy. You got a keyboard and a guitar solo.
And they're all brilliant.
Yeah.
And it's a song that has been played to death. It's so fucking dead. I'm so tired of the song and I can't help it. It's one of the best songs ever written. Goddamn. Like, and there's like little things about it that I can't get tired of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I think it's like the beginning of the first guitar solo where Robbie's doing this fucking, it's just really bizarre little lick that sounds like it shouldn't fit, but it fits beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting choices, and it's obviously it's just an incredible song.
Do you enjoy Alabama song? Because
not anymore.
No.
What about you?
Oh no, I thought carnival music, so I was like,
I know. It's circus, caravan, gypsy music.
Yes.
I'm exhausted. I like the novelty of it. I still appreciate that it's a fucking bonkers song to throw in the middle of the album. I'm so tired of it. That of all the Doors songs that I used to like that I no longer like. That's top of the list. I can't take
Number
it.
one.
I'm tired of it. It's a good song. It's fucking weird and kooky, but I'm just tired of it. 20th Century Fox is one that I learned to love at an older age.
I don't think I care for that stuff.
Love it. I think every section it kicks more ass than the one before it. I think it's fucking one of their best. I love it.
I didn't look it up, but do you think Backdoor Man's a euphemism for butt sex?
I thought so until I realized it's a cover.
It's still could
you
be.
know what? Sure, it is. You're damn right it is.
Yeah.
Backdoor Man is another one of the huge songs that I'm just not into. It's very bluesy. It's a good song. I actually prefer Morrison's performance more than the song itself.
Mm-hmm.
He's very gruff on that one, and I tend to like his gruffness whenever he starts shouting and stuff.
I think the back end of this album caught me by surprise.
How's that?
The more like underappreciated songs,
such as
End of the Night.
Hell yeah.
That's some of my favorite Robby guitar playing on.
Really? I think it's one of the weaker in terms of their psychedelic stuff, but I still think it's a cool song.
Yeah.
Take It As It Comes, I think is real strong. It's the first hint at the Spanish influence.
Yes, and there's some bass on there.
It's based on the whole album.
Yeah, but it's, I guess, more focused on,
or it pops out more.
Yeah.
Rothschild insisted that a bass player double over Ray's playing just to give it more, bottom.
More
which it's a good idea. It basically doesn't matter on this album. Compared to the way it sounds later on, you really feel the bass. Here, you fucking don't really.
Yeah. And then, the end is
11 and a half minutes of jammy psychedelic hypnotization that the entire world is familiar with.
So I love it.
You love it?
I still like it. I realized very early on, I think I like moody Doors better.
Moody Dark Doors is the best Doors.
It is. Bluesy Doors gets tired some fast for me.
That is because I hate the blues and I don't think you're fond of the blues as well. It's very formulaic.
You know what because I thought about like a Jimmy Page or a Jack White, where I think it's probably just a lot of boring people, especially in the 70s, gravitated towards it. And then kind of bastardized it.
I think it's the opposite. In the 70s, that was like the thing. That was the frontier. Is that the right word? That was their noise rock. What I think of when I have noise rock, this thing that's kind of on the outskirts that some people like and a lot of people don't. I think blues was more that back then. Because like a huge influence.
I don't know. I could listen to like a Robert Johnson or a Howling Wolf and like that. I feel like I can hear that's like.
So you don't like Whitey's interpretation of blues?
Yes.
Yeah,
there it is. There it is.
It's a different thing.
But yeah, I don't know. I think some white guys nail it and other white guys, Eric Clapton, don't. So
you can like old Slowhand?
Old Slowhand.
Well, it's also, Howlin' Wolf and stuff. That's like, it's just a different thing. What is that? Delta blues? It's just like way more.
Yeah, like any genre. There's,
It feels like a different thing. Even though it is definitely, they're all one hodgepodge stew. Mm-hmm. It's definitely like, there's a lot more like, I don't know, loneliness to that one. I think it has like this more cowboy feel to it. And I don't mean that because I like a literal cowboy, just more like a man with no name wandering the streets kind of thing.
Yeah, these like the blues definitely has these characters and these like, you know, kind of like these gunslingers who have no one except their guitar, and that's also part of
also love butt sex in the case of Backdoor Man.
Yes, and that's part of why I think a lot of these white guys were drawn to it.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I just happen to not care for the type of music so much. I don't like the structures, and like I don't like to know where it's going, which is basically all blues. But this would be like a shoo-in for best for most people, it seems like.
Oh yeah.
But goddamn, I will never ever excuse I Looked at You. Fucking stinks.
It's not good.
Oh my God, it's awful. Yeah. It's basically a shittier version of 20th Century Fox.
And then more made worse when it's on the same album.
Yeah, exactly. It feels completely necessary. And that's one thing that happens a lot with these albums, because these are all short albums, except for one that's kind of a decent length. But this is one of the short albums. And then you hear like the kind of throwaway tracks, and it's like, oh wait, they couldn't cut it. There just wasn't long enough. They were out of songs, which happens. They literally run out of songs very shortly. But to go back to the end real quick, I think that is my least favorite of their big epic songs. It's fine. It's nice. It's relaxing, but
I mean, to me, there's two big epic songs, and I like both of them.
I feel like there's four. There's four big epic songs.
Fuck it, just say them.
Oh, this one, When the Music's Over, Riders on the Storm, and The Soft Parade.
Yeah, but I think the end and Riders of the Storm are obviously.
What are you talking about? When the Music's Over is also 11 minutes. And Soft Parade is also 11 minutes.
I'm not saying those aren't big epics.
You like them more?
In terms of popularity.
Oh, yes. When the Music's Over is pretty popular.
Yes.
It's not as popular as the other two, but I think Soft Parade is like definitely the one that gets like shoved under the rug, which we'll talk more about, of course. But the end is probably,
is in fucking Apocalypse Now. It
was also sung in The Simpsons.
Yes.
Equal merit. It's not equal merit. I'm kidding. But
The Simpsons are probably far more reach than Apocalypse.
Easily. And more people care. What the fuck are we talking about? Anyway, good album. Obviously, everyone knows these songs. It's they hold up for the most part. And if you really are an appreciator of this, I don't know. You know the fucking Doors. There's nothing I can say about it. I'm not going to pitch the Doors to you. Christ, sorry. Let's get real. You live with your parents. You haven't had a date in 3.5 years or so, and your nuts are a mess. But Manscaped is here to help. Am I mostly projecting and speaking for myself? Hey, who's to say? Maybe, who knows? We're not talking about me right now, okay? Holidays are upon us, so do yourself a favor by going to Manscaped. And if you're a disgruntled lover who wants to deforest your boyfriend or husband's sack jungle, there really is no better gift than the Lawnmower 4.0. Seriously, do your little German boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have people thinking all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about a sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get knighted by going to manscaped.com and use code EAE for free shipping and 20% off. I'm a longtime user of Manscaped, and I will continue to be one so long as I have any semblance of self-respect left. This isn't just for your significant other, or this is for your self-worth, your self-confidence. You don't dress for the jobs you have, you dress for the jobs you want. Hand, blow, foot, rim. You ain't getting any of them without Manscaped. The Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. It has everything needed to help you deck the halls from face to balls just in time for mistletoe season. The Platinum Package has each product from the best-selling Performance Package Plus, Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo plus Conditioner, and Ultra Premium Deodorant. It's the best way to smell fresh from your Santa hat to your candy cane. I sure hope it doesn't look like a candy cane. Both the Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer and the Weed Whacker Nose and Ear Hair Trimmer. I have really long nose hair. That's pretty disgusting. They both feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence. Yeah, they do a pretty damn good job too. I mean, honestly. Oh wait, I didn't charge it. Damn. Plus, both are waterproof, so you can take care of your business in the shower. Don't leave evidence for your poor mother to walk into when she's just trying to forget that her 30-year-old son still lives with her. There's also an LED light on the Lawnmower 4.0, which I cannot show you because I killed the battery. Shaving my balls. But trimming the hedges is not the only thing you need to worry about, all right? and I think we both know this. It's time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer with the Platinum Package's shower products. Do reindeers smell like balls? Is that a thing? All of Manscaped's shower gear is sulfate-free, vegan, and made to have your skin feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. But smelling good doesn't stop at the shower. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner can solve stank problems all goddamn day long. Once they touch your sack, you'll never go back. Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add in the brand new Body Buffer, an incredible body scrubber that makes exfoliating easy and a lot cleaner than that old loofah. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code EAE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code EAE. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. All right, where were we? There's more to talk about.
Yes.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. It's same year.
Yes.
But they're still fucking energized, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed. They got energy. They're not completely fucking hammered yet. There's still time. This is 1967's Strange Days. Getting chills.
Ooh. I liked this song way more than I remember.
This song is one of the best, easily.
I agree with that.
Oh, I love it so much. We didn't talk about any of the stuff, the history behind the first album, which we will do after this.
Okay.
Because I'm not fucking skipping stuff. Sorry. A lot of effects on Jim's vocals there.
You know what? Even if it didn't have vocals, still
great.
Yeah.
I think he does elevate it though. God, these fucking riffs. Oh, it's so good. Really highlighting the bass too.
Yes.
That is very slidey.
Slidey, and it's got that oomph now.
Yep. We will listen to the whole goddamn song if we don't lower it now. There's so much to talk about the first album that I skipped because we got caught up in the conversation. So I just want to go over just a few quick things before we move on. That's my bad. The biggest takeaway out of everything from the first album in Meeting Rothschild, he rolled an impressive joint.
That's the man likes drugs.
He sure does. Apparently, he was on parole at the time of producing the first album. And he served 7 months of a 2-year sentence for marijuana possession, which he should have been fucking locked up for anyway. Sorry. It's fine. Weed is fine. Everyone enjoy yourself. But it was recorded in 6 days. Like they knocked it out.
That seems about right for like this era.
It is, and it's also interesting because it's one or the other. It's either we did it in 20 minutes or we took 3 years.
Yes,
it was an era of extremes in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the record blew up like insanely.
Yes,
it really, really blew up. They were actually doing the whole guerrilla radio thing where they would call in and request their own songs or have their friends and families call in.
Yeah.
What happened? Densmore was doing this for a long time he was calling KRLA. And he says, one day I called the KRLA request line for what was probably the 40th time. I said I was Fred Schwartz from West Covina, and they said, we know who you are, and if you don't stop calling, we'll pull the record. Which is the fucking greatest. Like, you get the fucking drummer bothering you so much.
Yeah. Also, I just like, a little shout out for the more east parts of Los Angeles.
Yeah, West Covina. That's where I was born.
Oh shit! Yeah. Also, found out I forget his real name, but Tommy from the Power Rangers.
Oh yeah,
who passed away recently at time of recording.
Very recently, yeah.
Yeah, he's from Covina too.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Child stars, dude. I mean, he was like a teenage star, whatever.
Yeah.
Doomed. They're doomed. Even if they get all jacked and start doing MMA like he did, there's always like a fucking weird curse.
You can't outrun it. It's like watching The Ring.
It is like watching The Ring, man.
Macaulay Culkin. I don't know what kind of black magic here.
He had that Jackson black magic, dude. I never saw the American version of The Ring. I only saw Ringu.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I know it's the version 2 was it's a better movie, but the fact that I never once came across the Ring seems a little odd. I don't know how I dodged that one.
I was too much of a purist to do that. So
Ringu is incredible.
Yeah,
it is. It's not just a spooky movie. It is like a really fucking well done detective movie.
Yeah. Because this podcast is going to be long enough, I recently watched Audition for the first time.
Oh, fuck that. I've always refused.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to
be. Really?
Well, in terms of gore and stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the ones you're like, oh, you're going to watch Audition? Oh, it's very cool. Yeah.
I would say most of the movie feels like you're watching a soap opera until the end.
Those creep me out more.
It might creep you out more then, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, this is just like a weirdly strange, not that great movie, and then it gets all fucked up. Mm-hmm. That's creepy. That's a weird.
That's Audition.
Anyway, Strange Days, best personal favorite.
Best personal favorite. Yeah, hell cool. Yeah.
And this is not highly debated. I have a lot of I really disagree with the world about this band, except for this album.
This album, yes, this is the one album I would. Well, I can't even. Because I think I owned all the albums when I was younger, but I would repurchase this as an adult now. Like,
it's really that good. And I still don't think it's perfect, but it's basically it's a closest they'll ever get. It is an incredible album. It's one of the best of the era, and it is their darkest. It is and Them Dark is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, and it's. I think there's a quote about it where it's like it's not full blown psychedelia, but it's very surreal.
Yeah.
And like the album cover looks wacky.
Yep.
And I wouldn't call the songs on here wacky, but there's no Alabama song on here. And man, so obviously we heard the title track a long time ago at this point because I started talking about the first album. And I started talking about Audition.
That's true. And Ringu. But goddamn, it's a great setup for the album because it's like, oh, we hear it as the Doors, as what we recognize. The style, it feels just like them, but it is darker, it is heavier, it is meaner.
I feel like they're doing interesting things, but they're still being playful on here.
Yep.
It's almost perfect. I don't really have to pretty much start to finish. There's not a track where I'm like, this is bad.
I have one, and that is Unhappy Girl. And it's not even that bad of a song. It's less than 2 minutes. It's gone immediately. But they do this thing. They do it a lot in their career. They're a big fan of modulating on a major second, which is a whole step on a keyboard or whatever instrument. It's just a full step. So they'll do one riff and they'll do the same riff a whole step down. And that drives me fucking crazy. It's just predictable and annoying to me. And I've always hated just that interval, that a major second. I just fucking don't like it.
For normal people, though.
I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure you'll like it just fine.
Yeah, I like the riffs on that song.
Yeah, it's the only thing I have, even in a semi problem. And even then, its inclusion on the album doesn't even bother me as much as it did when I was younger. But everything else, dude.
It's so crazy how even a song like Love Me Two Times, which is you throw that on a greatest hits album. All the Doors' greatest hits kind of sound like they could come from one album.
Yeah.
But in the context of this album, it works better.
It rules on this album. Yeah. Because first of all, I want to gush about Love Me Two Times for sure. But Your Lost Little Girl, I think, is their most underrated song.
I agree. I agree with that.
I can't believe it's not been blown up everywhere. The first time I heard it was years ago, but when it was on this album only, and I was like, why have I not heard this song? It's incredible. It is dark and it is beautifully subtle. But it's dark in a way that is not like the title track. Where the title track was dark and kind of frantic and a little bit on the gypsier side, for lack of a better term. The Lost Little Girl is, I don't know, almost sad. It's a different kind of dark. It's different feel entirely.
There is like a sadness to this album too, and I think like the lyrics kind of reflect that too, but it's never like overbearing like Joy Division or The Cure.
No. It's never like depressing. Nothing here is depressing. But to go back to Love Me Two Times, that is another like, man, I think that is my favorite Densmore performance.
Mm-hmm.
The drums in that song, I've fully memorized them. Like it's burned into my brain the same way the drums to Tourniquet by Baroness are burned into my head.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with the choices that he made on that song. I think it's just perfect. But like the fact that song hits that hard and it's a really good rock and roll song that doesn't feel like rock and roll.
Yeah.
Following these two dark ass songs. It's just early on, the diversity on some of these albums is just perfect. The pacing is like, oh, they knew exactly how to sequence these songs.
It's also crazy to me how this was like a jam band and most of the songs on here are pretty short. Like
they're all gone in an instant until you get to the closer.
Which is probably part of the charm of it.
Yeah, it's
because I certainly would not mind hearing like jammy versions of these songs, but erring on the side of caution, I rather have them be shorter.
It feels like they weren't asking for, like the songs didn't call for that, so it just didn't happen. This whole album does feel very natural in that sense. One thing that I've never heard anybody bring it up, especially not put it on in conversation or in pleasant company, is Horse Latitudes, which is so fucking cool.
Yeah.
It is like their only truly experimental, scary song.
Well, I think they have some creepy riffs.
It's a creepy, but the thing is, that's not even a song. It's just like a piece of shit. And I do mean that in the best possible way. It is actually scary. It's super chaotic. It's really crazy. Jim's fucking screaming all over it. And it's just fucking, and what makes it even better is that immediately after is Moonlight Drive. And all of a sudden it's this really cheery, happy kind of like almost driving song.
It bothers me because I've said this about another song, but if Moonlight Drive was not an inspiration for the Ghostbusters score, I'm going to be
We got to ask Ray Parker Jr., dude.
Well, I don't know where episodes come out anymore, but as we've maybe have discussed, the scores and soundtracks. Two different things. So,
hold on.
Yeah, Moonlight Drive sounds like it could be on the Ghostbusters score.
You're not wrong. It does, and it does feel very happy.
Yeah,
it's just so weirdly happy following Horse Latitudes. I think is good for pacing.
Also, because I already brought up wrestlers earlier, I'd be remiss not to bring up a man who has many names, but is most famously John Morrison, who picked that name because he kind of looks like Jim Morrison.
Really?
And a lot of his finishers are like Moonlight Drive.
Interesting.
And he calls himself the shaman of sexy. Yeah. So
wearing his love on his sleeve, clearly.
Yes.
People Are Strange is another one of the giant songs off this album. It was like a huge favorite when I was like a small child.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with that song.
It's a good song.
It's a great song.
A good single to like bring people into the album.
For sure. It's beautifully strange, and I honestly really do love those old piano keys where it sounds like it's from an old saloon. I think they sound great on there. It's very fun, and it's just well written. It's really well written. The last chunk I think is interesting because I think it also highlights why I think this is such an exceptional album, is because My Eyes Have Seen You feels like it is the equivalent of a flyover song on this album.
It is.
And it's still good.
It's one of those songs where the instant it's over, you're like, I can't believe that's over. I need to like play it back.
It's great. It's like what seems like just a regular rock and roll song, just better. It's like a really fine-tuned version of like something pulled off the first album.
I think that's a good summary of this album. Seems like a regular rock and roll album, but better.
Full of so much character.
Yeah.
Like this is why they're special. Like you hear it's like, oh, they were their own thing. No one could do this again. They made this whole truly unique thing. No one can do it again, or no one can do it like this again. I Can't See Your Face in My Mind is more, I think it's more interesting texturally than I think it is as a song.
Yeah, the opening actually made me think of more electronic bands like YMO or something.
Yeah, those keys are very, very synthy or electronic-y.
Imagine Ray Manzarek in like Kraftwerk or something.
That would be rad.
Hell yeah.
Be just a full solos in the middle of robots.
Dude, I'm for it. With the ELO guy overseeing it all. Why can't I think of his name?
Oh, Jeff Lynne?
With Jeff Lynne.
Hell yeah, dude.
Doing robot vocals or something.
Hell yeah. So When the Music's Over is is the closer. It's another 11-minute epic. Out of all of their big epic closers, I think this one is actually the most organic and natural sounding out of all of them.
This one, I feel like, does something the others don't, where it gets unhinged and crazy.
It's wonderfully done. I think it actually does nail the effort of like, we're going to make this big, long, epic, crazy thing. I think it does it actually better than, it's not my favorite of all of them, but I think it does it the best. It feels so perfectly, like, I don't know. It's a perfect closer, really.
Yeah. I didn't really think about, out of the 4, how I would personally rank them. I think I like all of them for sure, but not quite sure. But yeah, was really surprised and taken aback by this album. So
I'm glad that it's still this good after all this time, and that I can still see why people became obsessed with them. It just makes sense that this was truly a unique thing that feels great.
I will say it feels like most people are obsessed with like the bluesy Doors, though.
Yeah, but when they think of the Doors, they think of this style. They think of that personality of like those keys and those weird guitar riffs, and then obviously Morrison's voice. Like maybe like the bluesier stuff, the individual songs people might remember more, but I think they like this personality, this actual character of the songs more.
Probably also different parts of the country, different parts of the world probably gravitate to different styles
for sure.
Of the Doors.
Like, and I was mentioning like East LA, they're obsessed with the Doors, but it's basically just the first album.
Yeah.
It's mostly that album that they're obsessed with, not so much like, again, you hear the hits off this one, but you don't hear the stuff in between. That's really what makes it incredible.
Like I could see people in Texas being a fan of a certain record later on.
Oh, indeed. So some of the backstory behind this album, all these albums are really interesting kind of to talk about. So this one took longer to record than the first album. I don't think it was that much longer, but it was longer because they were fucking around with more overdubs. What is it? I think Paul Rothschild brought in Paul Beaver. He's basically the expert programmer of Moog synthesizers, which were pretty new at the time. So they did that stuff to Jim's voice on Strange Days, the title track, and they did some like reverse stuff. They did a lot of post stuff.
Going back to your question, recorded during tour breaks between May and August of 67.
So that's significantly longer than the 6 days or however long.
And it's not as linear if it was like, okay, we got a break, we're going to record tour.
Yeah,
break.
way more in segments.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was that disjointed, but interesting. We're talking about the Music's Over. How I said it was like the most organic, natural sounding, and then the recording of it was totally not that, which I find fucking interesting. So our boy Tom says, the recording of When the Music's Over was almost ruined, according to Densmore, when Morrison didn't show up on the night they were meant to record. Because the song was 10 minutes long, Morrison would be improvising all over it. So they needed him there because every time they played it, he improvises, he jumps in whenever it feels right or whatever. And without him there, they have to record the entire thing just kind of guessing where he was going to sing, which is a recipe for disaster. And it worked. It fucking worked.
Somehow captured the madness.
Weirdly, Densmore says, fortunately, we'd done the song so many times in person, so we could pretty much estimate where the poems would be. Finally, the next day, Jim showed and recorded his part for When the Music's Over. It worked perfectly, thank God. I couldn't imagine Jim not showing for a vocal, especially a song of his own and one I knew was important to him. My violin jabs on the cymbal were a little late, but they answered the what have they done to the Earth section as I had intended. It was as if Jim and I were having a dialogue. Ooh,
very deep.
very deep. So how good did this album do?
Not as well as their first album, but
damn shame. But
yes.
Still well.
Yeah, I think instead of coming in at number 1, it came in at number 4. What a tragedy.
Yeah, I know. I one thing on the cover that I didn't even know was there until reading this was the poster. There's in the background on the window is a poster of the Doors.
Yeah,
and that's where you see the name of the band. It's like just way in the background.
Yeah,
had no idea it was even there. It's neat.
It's a very busy album cover, so that's a cool little Easter egg to get in there.
It's a great album cover too. It's like it is by far the most interesting out of all of them. It's the only one that kind of looks. Well, they all look different, but that one is the only one that's like, for one, doesn't have them on the cover, and it's also like it feels way more conceptual.
Like a PG rated Jodorowsky film.
Yeah. Oh man, I've been wanting to watch weird 70s sci-fi movies lately. I've been of course the fucking algorithm found me and attacked me with AI art that looks like screenshots from old 70s sci-fi movies that never existed.
That's insane.
I'm obsessed, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, so the first one I found, I was like, this is incredible. Where is this? And I got to find this. And there was like a name or like a title of the show, quote unquote, in the description. I Googled it and nothing came up. I was like, what the fuck? And then I kept reading. It was like a synopsis of this show. And then I went to the comments like, oh, this guy is doing a meta thing. It's not a real show. This fucking asshole just got my hopes up. And everyone in the comments like, I can't believe this isn't real. This sucks. I wish it was real.
Yeah.
But wild stuff like that the AI art is getting fucking creepy.
Out of control. Also,
It's looking real.
Something you can watch, although I feel like you're more interested in listening to it. What's that Italian composer you like?
Nina Rota?
Yeah, I saw Criterion Collection's coming out with a remaster version of Romeo and Juliet that Rota did the score for.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I saw that, and like one of the first things they brought up was the soundtrack, of course.
Hell yeah.
And I thought of Mike.
Nina Rota, man. That dude is the fucking man.
Yeah.
Check out last week's fucking soundtracks episode if you haven't heard it. 2 of his soundtracks were on my list.
Yeah. So excited to hear what Mike thinks of the 1950s version of Romeo and Juliet.
It's got to be at least somewhat good. It's got to be.
Yeah, there's no way it's not. So
yeah. So yeah, this album did well. It's fucking great. It's awesome. Everyone loves it. I think it's widely regarded as the best, as it should. I almost wish I could have said something different, but it is the best. It is what made them special, and it's fucking dark. Good stuff. But we have a few more than a few more. We have a lot more. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. This is 1968, Waiting for the Sun.
Coming at you.
This almost feels regressive.
Sure does. I think this song is one of the most overrated hits.
Yeah, when I was younger, this was my favorite album.
Really?
Yeah. At least, you know what? It's fuzzy.
The fuzziness is cool, yeah. It is still a cool song. I just think it's, a letdown compared to the last 2.
Yeah, I've heard things that I can't go back to this.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we know how that song goes. So this is the album that basically destroyed the band.
Yeah.
This early on.
Morrison was like full-blown alcoholic here.
Yeah.
And I was surprised it was this album, because I still think this is like pretty unique at times.
It is a good album. I think it's a wild step down. I still think it's a good album, but holy shit, in terms of consistency, this one takes a shit on itself compared to the last 2. Obviously still got like a good chunk of their best songs are on here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little hair miss.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like really solid songs on here for me. Like Not to Touch the Earth is just
fuck yeah, dude.
Fucking killer, underrated song of theirs.
That one probably would have fit in on Strange Days, even though I wouldn't change Strange Days at all. But it is. Man, that's what was like. Their dark songs are just unmatched.
Yeah,
like, that shit is really, really, really fantastic keyboard sounds on that one. It's ugly and spooky, and then really heavy.
For some of the misses, I feel like they were trying to do something with Summer's Almost Gone and then Wintertime Love.
I hate them both.
Yeah, Wintertime Love is just a boring version of Golden Brown by the Stranglers.
Interesting.
To me at least.
I'm not a huge fan of it at all. It's whimsical, romantic, but ultimately, like, there's a couple interesting, like, classical Baroque moments in there, but overall, not for me. I also think Love Street stinks, and I have no idea why it's so popular.
And that's a popular. Yeah, it's not good.
I really hate it.
I'm there with you. It's yeah, I think it's fair to call it uneven, but like, I don't know, the strong songs are pretty goddamn strong. Like, oh man, Spanish Caravan.
Yeah, just needs no explanation.
Yeah,
it's that good. It's that good, and it's also like, we didn't really mention it, but Robby is like he plays with his fingers. He's like a finger plucker, and we never hear it until that song. Like, oh, he's a fucking phenomenal finger picker.
Should have done it more often.
Really, and then it's very well done and very Spanish, but when it goes synthy and electronic and waltzy,
also gets fuzzy too.
Yep.
Like,
it's really one of the absolute best. Fucking incredible.
On paper, it's ambitious, but it's like real effortless. The way
it's very smooth, or it goes down very smooth.
'Cause you're so smooth.
I need your impression to get further and further from Rob Thomas every time you do it.
Nah.
The Unknown Soldier. You don't like it?
No, I will say I'm glad they did like the military snare roll in the middle there, and I do like the outro.
The latter half I think is much stronger.
That song gets an A for effort, but it's ultimately The Doors.
I like it. I think it's a strong track. I don't so much love the weirdly cheery first chunk, but as soon as like the military stuff comes in and the second half, it's pretty rad. On paper, what My Wild Love should bore me, and I love it.
I dig it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're gonna call yourself a shaman and be influenced by Native American people.
I mean, I thought that was more Field Hollers. It's a Field Holler song.
I thought of like Native American. Maybe it's both. I mean, maybe it's one or the other. I don't know. That's out of my. I'm
certain there's no way it's not at least influenced by Field Hollers just because they're blues band or heavily blues band, and then all of a sudden you do hear like the Jim Morrison and his shaman
the mystical parts. Yes,
it's so fucking good. It feels really morbid. Even though it's still like they're all chanting and they're all singing together, and there's no instruments, it's just all a cappella with some percussion. It feels morbid, and it I don't know. It's the only song they have like that in the entire discography.
It's crazy to me that like 5-1 is like not up there with like their other big hits.
I thought it was. I know it's popular.
It is popular, but I feel like hip hop culture kind of made it more popular.
Really? Who samples it?
Fuck. I don't know the producer. I sadly might have been Kanye. I know it's on a Jay-Z song. And yeah, I just love how dirty and gritty it is.
Fantastic. I love it.
And yeah,
I love Jim's voice on that one.
Yeah. Interesting to put it towards the end. And
I think,
because we've been talking about movies and whatever the most recent Rambo movie is at the time of recording this, probably 6 or 5. I don't know what we're on. He kills a bunch of people to this song. It's the best part of the movie.
That is such a far cry from First Blood, where 5-1 is playing and he's just murdering a bunch of people. God damn, what happened to those movies?
It's a movie about PTSD and real emotions and humanizing veterans, and then it turned into R-rated GI Joes.
Pretty much. Yeah, that first movie is, whoever hasn't seen First Blood, it's an incredible movie.
And legitimately good.
And really like fucked up. Like, damn, that's...
I think he kills 0 to 2 people.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to like 5, the body counts.
It's like thousands. Also, I heard, I think it was a comedian mentioned, I think it might have been Big Jokerson, who recently said, if you go back and watch First Blood, the level at which they're mean to him in the first like 30 minutes is just so stupid and ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so unrealistic and comical. Like, who is that mean to someone for no reason? It's crazy.
They don't respect the vets, man.
It's not even that. It's like, I'm going to make this guy's life hell and I've never seen him before.
Yeah.
Fuck. So last little underrated gem, I think, is Yes, the River Knows.
I don't love that, but at least it's jazzy instead of bluesy.
It is jazzy. It's driven by piano, which is actually weirdly rare that we hear just a straight piano.
Mm-hmm.
And it's majestic sounding. It's beautiful. I think it's a very soft spoken in terms of what it does.
Like a stallion in the field.
It is
minding its own business,
gracefully galloping. So
there's some wild quotes here.
This is So at this time, they're the biggest band in the world, or America, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're a huge band, and needless to say, there is a lot of pressure to make this album great, which we just explained how it's not that great. It's good songs, but and the reason that I think it's this inconsistent, they straight up fucking ran out of songs. They had nothing else to put out, and they were touring, and Jim was a mess. So they just didn't have anything left.
Yeah, full blown out. Like, yeah.
According to Stephen Davis here, he says that he alienated almost everyone with whom he came in contact, disgraced himself in public. He got blackmailed by street hustlers. He ruined his concerts with drunken antics, dooming his band and wrecking his career as a rock star. It was the best he could do. It was probably the best he could do under the circumstances. To be fair, he was like 24, whatever. Yeah, or 23. Yeah, I guess. But also, woof, what a nosedive, dude.
Yeah. And then we'll get to it, but yeah, try to like quit the band too.
This is where it gets pretty fucked up. Like, so one interesting thing is that I think it was Rothschild who wanted Hello, I Love You as a single.
We need it to be a hit.
Yeah. He suggested like changing some like the rhythm stuff, or changing one of the beats to sound more like Sunshine Every Love. Recovered Cream, by the way, check that out.
And that's one of the few Cream songs that is good.
We don't love Cream here, but, Densmore says, I like the lyrics very much, but the new arrangement seemed contrived. When it climbed to number 1, I was baffled. Hey, you and me both, brother.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You know, kept the lights on.
Kept the lights on. Oh, and this is also where
Rothschild, this
kind of goes
micromanaging, too many takes.
He fucking made things difficult. This is the beginning of him making shit difficult. So it says, our boy Tom said, while the first 2 albums were put together very quickly, Rothschild made the band go over every detail again and again, making it technically clean and distinct, but taking away excitement in the performances, which, to say the least, that is what he did.
Yeah, that's fair assessment of what's going on this album.
For the Unknown Soldier, so they did it in halves because, you know, the whole break in the middle, they recorded in halves. They did what like 59 takes of the first half.
Unless you're Talk. Don't do that.
Yeah, even Talk. That's a weirdly specific case. But that's basically what they did. Like, they spent 2.5 hours or 2 hours trying to get the gunshot that's in the middle of The Unknown Soldier, which is like,
it's a gunshot. What is there to? Yeah.
I mean, what would we not? Would we know the difference if you swapped it out with any of the other takes?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
probably not.
Around this time, Morrison was hanging around with some no good nicks and bringing them around the studio.
Of course he was.
Of course, that's what they do. And Densmore was fucking done. He lost it. He's like, I'm done. I'm quitting the band. And one of the things that drove him to it, that made him think about it, is the thing that Rothschild said that is so goddamn prophetic and kind of creepy.
It's, I would say, downright like scumbag behavior.
Well, the fact that he didn't offer help. So
that's what.
Yeah. So this is what happened. Densmore is really, really bitter because the thing that he loved doing is now turned into, junkies everywhere, and there's all this pressure, and he's doing a million takes, and it's like, what the fuck is this? So Densmore says, I told Paul Rothschild I was quitting. He sat me down and told me I was in one of the most envied and respected groups in the world. I kept thinking of what Paul had said about Jim a few nights before after one of his binges. He told Ray, Robby, and me that we were witnessing a special psychological experience and we should get as much tape on Jim as fast as possible because he didn't think he was going to be around long. Now, did he nail it or did he nail it?
He nailed it. And the reason it's scumbag behavior is because, like, if you genuinely feel that way about someone and you don't confront them about it,
there's one way to look at it. There's one other way to look at it, and it's that he's not going to listen to me. He's doing his thing, and to be fair, that is a common thing with especially someone that young going that off the deep end.
I think it's this, like, he's making money off of him too.
That is one way. I don't think that's entirely it. And I think that's just a perspective. I think it could also be because I've known plenty of people who are young and that are in that world, and you are not pulling them out of it unless they want to come out of it. So there could be like, hey, this guy's my paycheck, but also does he want him to die? I don't think he wants him to die. That's his paycheck.
But also,
I truly think that he didn't believe he had any power to change the situation. And I think that not just because of, whatever hunch, but also because of the way the band members responded to all of this. They were like, I don't know what to do. I mean, just try and talk him down. I mean, I don't know. Like, he's just going to do what he's going to do.
This sounds like such a crazy, like, thing to be a part of.
It is, but it's also the 60s.
It's the 60s.
It is the 60s. So one day Densmore snaps. He throws his sticks down. He's like, I'm fucking done. He quickly comes back on what was supposed to be in this album, but ultimately didn't get finished in time, is a celebration of the lizard, which is a big old giant poem. It's out there. There's like recordings of like the poem version. I don't know if there's music behind it or not. I haven't heard it. Or at least it's been many years since I've heard it. But it wasn't ready in time, and Morrison was pretty bummed out about that. But I think they printed it on the sleeve or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was on like the gatefold. They printed the entire poem. This is also around the time Morrison tried to quit because, and this ties in a little bit more of your perspective of like, this dude is falling apart. He needs help, and no one helped. So Jim kind of snapped. It was July 1968. He's apparently, he said to Ray, I think I'm having a nervous breakdown. And then Ray was like, no, you're not. You're drinking too much. It's starting to get to you. And he's like, no, dude, I'm having a nervous breakdown and I want to quit. And I guess Ray just fucking talked him down. He's like, I love you. Like, you're good. You're great. Everyone loves you. Just chill. How about just stick with us for 6 months, just 6 months. And if you still feel the same, we'll break up.
Yeah.
All right. Just hang out. They sent him home for like a few days, like just fucking like, just take your mind off it. Just cool off. And he was like, I don't, and he just like wandered off, like mumbling and like, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, yeah. All the drugs, by the way, our fucking boy Tom put a giant picture of Mr. Mackey from South Park saying drugs are bad. Yeah, the dude was strung out, needed help, and no one had any idea what to do.
No. Also, yeah, mental health wasn't really talked about.
Not at all. Interventions are like gay. Like, they might as well be gay. Like, you don't talk about that amongst people in the 60s. Like, It's just everything was taboo. You can't do anything. And you think about his fucking childhood shit and his weird family stuff and his drugs and this dude was not long for this world. Oh my God.
God damn.
So yeah, this is the album that basically broke them mentally. And they were everything after this is just hanging on by threads.
Kind of amazing. There's 3 albums after this.
Insane that there's 3 albums after this. Oh my God.
Should be one at best.
Really. But we have some more. And this is, here we go, baby. This is the Summer of Love, baby. July 18th, 1969. Holy shit.
Nice.
Literally the Summer of Love. This is, The Soft Parade.
Dang, those production values got real loud.
Real loud.
I hate this fucking song.
I did too. It grew on me. It is the trick to it is to forget who you're listening to.
Mike, you can get Mike to listen to church music.
Yep.
Not gonna fly with me.
Oh, I don't mind this. It is for sure inferior, but I don't think it's that bad. I take it back. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's great. So, man, the horns, the fucking big production, it feels out of place. It doesn't. It's wonky. Like, it feels like they shoehorned the horns into this song.
It does. I'm not opposed to the horns.
Neither am I.
This part.
Your life's complete. Follow me down.
So it is a surprisingly weak opener, even though I do like the song. And this is where my beef with the world comes in. This was a hair away from being personal favorite.
Oh shit!
I think
really?
this is one of the most underrated albums. I can't believe how much it gets shat on to this day. That people call this their worst album. It's insane.
Definitely not.
Absolutely not. This is a fucking great.
There's things I don't like on here. But
Sure. It is so close to being my personal favorite. I was so close, but man, I just love Strange Days so much. That's I couldn't talk. But this is right up there, dude. I really like this album.
God damn.
Because for one, the reason why it was so negatively received when it came out, it doesn't sound like the Doors. Boo fucking who? They're trying something different. Okay.
Yeah.
I get why that would initially upset like fans, but listen to it a few times. And if you can't appreciate the actual writing on here, like Touch Me is one of their biggest songs. And it's like a wimpy pop rock ballad. It is so beautifully written.
I was going to say of all the hits, I think Touch Me is like my favorite.
It's so good.
I could have sworn Tom Jones covered that fucking song.
Did he not?
He did not, but he also has a song called Touch Me, completely unrelated.
I bet it's not as good.
It's probably, I was scared to listen to, but like it sounds like a fucking Tom Jones song.
Sure does. And that's, so I was saying like the horns felt out of place on Tell the People.
On Touch Me, they fucking nailed it.
That's what I feel like a lot of this album where it's like, people were mad about like the inclusion, like, oh, they're trying to follow the Beatles or the Bird.
I don't hear that at all.
I don't hear it either, but it's like, oh, it's definitely a more of the times thing where they try to, horns were very in at the moment. But they feel completely at home with a lot of stuff here. And even the sexy sax solo in Touch Me, god damn, does it work.
It's this, as the kids say, it's a bop.
It's a bop. Shaman's Blues, I fucking love it.
Based on title, I thought I was going to hate it.
Yep.
It's more weird than it is bluesy, so it works for me.
It is not that bluesy. It's actually really heavy. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Really interesting main riff. Do It is a song that sounds like nothing they've done before. It's just interesting. Like, this is so different.
I hate Do It and Easy Rider.
Or Easy Ride.
Whatever.
Yeah. Easy Ride is the only song I think that I genuinely don't like. I'm fine with Do It. I don't think it's amazing, but Easy Ride is pretty awful. It's like circus rock and roll. And here's how much that song doesn't do it for me. Even the ragtime guitars don't do it for me. I love me some ragtime.
This guy loves fucking ragtime.
I fucking love it. But it's a fun song, but other than that, I don't care much for it.
And then I think one of the fucking wildest, and good or bad, depending on your taste, songs they've ever done. Running Blue.
Dude. Nice misdirect though, because people are gonna think you're saying Wild Child because you said Wild. Running Blue, dude.
No, Running Blue. There's fucking hoedowns.
Yep.
There's fiddles.
It goes soulful. It's goofy. It's bluegrass.
There's horns.
There's a whole, and that's the only song we ever hear Robby singing, and he sounds bad. He doesn't sound very good, but I can't help but love a song that wild. It's just so insane.
It's fucking ambitious.
Oh, we're gonna do it all, baby. We're gonna try every. And by the way, this is basically Robby's album.
Mm-hmm.
There's still,
oh yeah, they do say that because Morrison's is kind of checked out.
He's checked out. He's getting fatter. He's got the beard, and he still writes on half the songs. A lot of his lyrics are here. They co-wrote. I forget which song they co-wrote. I'll find it in a second.
I do like that. Val Kilmer played Jim Morrison, and he himself has gotten rounder.
He's gotten a lot almost worse looking. He's definitely worse looking.
Well, yeah, he has a
lot of problems.
Yes, health problems.
Yeah,
but even before that,
oh yeah, for sure.
Kind of beautiful how he just turned into Jim Morrison
in a way. Yeah. "Do It" is a song that they both wrote together, but musically, this is basically Robby's album. Another reason why I like this album so much is you could hear how creative this dude was and how much he actually wanted to do with the band. And when left to his devices, like, fuck it, I'm writing all the songs. They're going to be fucking crazy. And they're all going to be very, very distinct. This is such a super diverse and interesting album.
The only song I love on here is the title track. It is...
We will get into the title. We could spend a while on the title track. We'll get before we get there. Wild Child is basically a weaker 5-1. I feel like.
Yeah, it's not good. There's definitely some energy missing behind that song.
I like it. I think it's a good song. It's just if you're comparing the two, 5-1 is can't touch that one. Wishful Sinful, I think, is so goddamn underrated. I think it's extremely ahead of its time. The way it's written, it does feel like completely removed from the 60s. Like it sounds way more 90s, I guess. I'm
gonna have to give that one a re-listen with Mike's perspective on it.
It is a difference. So you put that song on a 90s album, you think it fits in. And the string arrangements are really well done. It's a beautifully written song. But now the title track. Of all of their big epic songs, this is by far the most interesting, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It is the only, because all the others, they have like an idea and then they jam a little bit and there's like ups and downs. This is an 11-minute constructed song. We're going to go to this section and we're going to go to this section and it's like the only song they've ever done that big with that arrangement.
There are parts on here that are like damn near disco.
Yep. But it's so cool how they do it.
Yeah. There's spoken word stuff.
Yep.
Like this is such going back to your point, this is like the best buffet ever, where the other ones are like 5-course meals, but they're all like one type of food.
Yeah, exactly. So the intro is like, the acapella preacher man kind of rant. It's neat. It's fine. It's like more, all right, I get
a lot of religious overtones on this album.
For sure. And then it goes into this really fucking beautiful intro. And then, bam, it's ugly funk. And the funkiness, it's so fucked up and creepy because of the vocal lines. The vocal lines are this weirdly sing-songy thing on top of this groovy, but really like almost they're hitting wrong. It's a very strange and unsettling section. And then it jumps into so many different things. It is like a million sections on the song. And then it ends with this big, jammy, heavy, kind of long, I don't know, anthemic kind of part. I don't know. I lost my vocabulary for a second.
Messy album, but at least we got that out of it.
Oh, dude, it's wild. I think growing up, I'd only ever heard parts of the title track because it's so long. I was like, this is basically prog rock. It's so, so crazy.
Yeah. As, there's definitely things as a older person that I appreciate that I don't think I caught when I was like teenager in my 20s.
Yeah. This is, I think most people would overlook that when listening to this album because it doesn't sound like the Doors. And honestly, it's the only album that doesn't sound like the Doors. It kind of makes me like it more. It's like it's truly unique in that sense.
I mean, obviously, I like it more than something
for sure. But it was like, yes, this is what you should be doing if you feel like if you've exhausted a well. Fucking try something. Go wild with it. God damn.
Better than being boring.
Hell yeah. And now we have plenty to talk about the making of this album. This is a very long episode, I know. But when they're recording this, fucking George Harrison came to visit, which is, I don't know, it's kind of interesting because I think he commented that like this looks like when we made Sgt. Pepper's because of all the musicians they had. There's like a million musicians on this album, obviously.
But also like shout out to them for never like sounding like the Beatles, because I know like the Beatles and Rolling Stones, they had like their back and forth, you know, like their Sgt. Pepper's, and then Rolling Stones did like the Satanic Service album, which I love both those albums.
I don't think I ever heard the Stones one. Stones I've neglected my entire life, except for a few albums, of course. But
yeah, there are like similarities there. But I don't really like. The Doors sound like the fucking Doors.
They were original. They were their own thing, and that's why I can't help but respect it. But this is also the album where they finally started splitting writing credits, at least like on the liner notes, because of a conflict between Jim and Robby over Tell All the People. So according to Densmore, he says Jim must have been squirming over not liking the lyrics for months, but he kept it to himself out of respect for the band. Finally, he couldn't contain his disapproval. He said, I don't want the audience to think I wrote these lyrics, Robby. Then he abruptly went into the bathroom of our rehearsal space. And Robby's like, why? It's a good song. And he's like, yeah, but I don't want the public to think they should get their guns and follow me. So since then, like, all right, well, now these are my lyrics and this is... which is also interesting because if you look back on the earlier stuff, it says all songs by the Doors, but really Light My Fire is Robby.
Yeah.
Robby. And then the intro is by Ray. That's like obviously lyrics by Morrison, but I don't know. I guess that's cool. I really don't really care, but I mean, it's important, I guess.
Laugh so hard the headphones came off.
One thing our guy Tom said, he said, he also reflects that some of the title track's lyrics, namely, can you give me a sanctuary? I must find a place to hide. Might reveal how much Morrison was suffering, and that maybe Densmore, Robby, and Ray and Rothschild were cashing in, quote unquote, on his pain, though they didn't realize it at the time. That makes sense. Like, I'm sure they weren't intentionally doing anything, but it's like he wasn't like hiding. He was very much a visible mess.
Yeah, I mean, he told them he's having a nervous breakdown. So
yep, literally from his mouth. This is one little tidbit that I couldn't find much more info about. This is all we have is what Densmore said, that the name Touch Me came from a fight that Robby was having with his wife, Lynn. I think they were married at the time, where out of one of the fights came the quote, come on now, hit me, babe. And then Jim was like, how about we make it Touch Me instead? It's a little, you know, and then everyone was like, okay, you're good, fair enough.
Make it more sexual than violent.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know how true that is, if that came out of them fighting like that, but that's what
you know who would have done Hit Me? James Brown, not above a good Hit Me.
No, he is not in every sense of the word. Oh, so there's one interesting show. Was it Madison Square Garden gig in 69? This is before the album came out, but you know, on the same time period. Who was it? They fucking challenged Jim to a drinking contest or something the night before the concert, so that the next day he'd be so burned out that he couldn't get drunk and ruin the show.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. That you have to come up with these fucking strategies so that your singer won't fuck up your gigantic arena show.
It's like Tom said, very a Werner Herzog moment. So
Werner, was it Klaus Kinski?
Yes.
What's the movie? Aguera, The Wrath of God?
Yes, but
do you know anything? Have you seen it?
I saw it a long time ago, but yeah, you could do a whole documentary series on Werner Herzog and Klaus Kinski. They are
So according to Tom, I'm sure you've heard this as well, where he would intentionally make Kinski use up his energy with temper tantrums in order so that they could film without him causing a ruckus or just making things difficult for everybody.
Yeah.
What a fucking baby. That's hilarious.
They're both madmen.
Yes.
Yeah. That's just one story.
Okay.
There's so many more.
I imagine. But that they basically did that with Jim. Who was it? It's Sal Bonafete. It was their manager, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was his partner, Ash, who was a bit of a drinker.
Yeah.
Ash challenged Jim to a drinking contest, and that's how they fucking, I don't know, planned a good show.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. And then now we are at the Miami incident. We finally got there.
We got there. We did it.
So
fuck the other two albums.
Dude, so
this is what we're here for.
And this is, I had to really read into this because apparently he was kind of innocent.
Yeah.
Like, which is so fucked up that you believe that he's not innocent. It makes sense that he's not innocent. It seems like he shouldn't ever be innocent. And he is, and that's kind of swept under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the fucking story? Do you know it? How well do you know the story?
Not well. This was my first time.
Okay. So it was
hearing about it.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it was in the movie.
I don't remember the movie.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid either. So it was Morrison's first time back in Florida, where he was from, I guess, in years. So it's already a big thing. And he was how does Stephen Davis put it? He says he was about as drunk as one could be and still put on a rough semblance of a rock show. Okay. So he goes on stage and they start playing Backdoor Man, and he's doing a little striptease. He off mic asked if the kids, their words, not mine, wanted to see his cock, and began unbuckling his belt. Everyone, and this is the weird one. This is the weird little point in the story. It says everyone could see he was wearing boxer shorts, which interested the band because Jim hardly ever wore underwear. That's funny. When the red flag is he's wearing underwear.
They lucked out. They lucked out that day in Miami.
So Ray starts screaming over to Vince Traynor or Traynor, who I don't know who that is. You know who Vince Traynor is?
I have no idea.
I'm assuming he works for the band with the band on stage. He's screaming, Vince, don't let him do it. So he runs on stage, sticks his thumbs in the waistband of Jim's leather pants so he couldn't pull them down. So instead, he was using his shirt to do this like goofy peekaboo thing with his crotch, but his dick wasn't out.
Yeah.
But tons of people, fucking taking pictures, and he was screaming shit at the crowd, like a bunch of obscenities, and he was an overall mess. I think there was a live lamb that got put on stage or something. Like
Is this lambs hanging out in Miami?
It is Miami, dude. It's fucking wild. So was it Larry Mahoney, a young reporter for the Miami Herald who had been a student at FSU at the same time as Jim and may have known him there. 2 days after the Miami show, Mahoney began writing inflammatory articles about the Doors' appearance, one of which suggested that Morrison had exposed himself at the Dinner Key Auditorium. And he goes on explaining that he was, talking shit. He wrote that Morrison was masturbating in full view of the audience.
But she wasn't.
Was not straight up lie. Apparently, he said that he slugged 3 the Image officials, and he was like saying that he was violent and beaten off and exposing them. Just lies. And
because you would have heard from those officials if he had.
Not to mention all the photos that people were taking.
Oh yeah.
So all this publicity, I guess, all these articles, they go nuts, and that fucking levels them. Like they canceled like a whole tour or something like that. It was just an absolute disaster.
A mess.
He fucking gets arrested. I forgot when he gets arrested. I think it's later where he gets arrested. And it's a whole mess. Basically trying to fight for his innocence.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did some time. No, he didn't do any time. I think he got out pretty quickly, but it never got resolved. He died before any of that was resolved. I think like 10 years ago or something, they gave him like a posthumous pardon or something.
Sure.
Like Who cares? He's dead.
It's too late.
It's fucking ridiculous. But it is really weird because I've always known about this story, like in passing. Never knew that a lot of it was just slander.
Fabricated.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. This was my first time hearing about it. But yeah, if it was, if it was true, I think there'd be a lot more evidence.
Yep.
And there are crazier things in rock and roll that are true. So,
what's the consensus on the shark up the vagina for Led Zeppelin? I don't know if we talked about that in the episode.
That's still a mystery to me. I think that one's still up in the air. But
that one's dark.
I know on Behind the Music for Ted Nugent, famous for dating little girls.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, not just him. I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them, pretty much.
Jerry Lee Lewis, Steven Tyler.
Jerry Lewis was scary. Didn't he marry his cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different category. Yeah. That's fucking wild.
But yeah, Ted Nugent and Steven Tyler are here, so.
They are. I mean, all of them. They all did it. They're all free men right now.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth.
What did David Lee Roth? I don't know.
You know damn well he did shit with animals at least.
I never heard anything about. I don't want to bring Diamond Dave into this.
Oh, they all did it. I'm
going to stand by what I know for now.
Oh, shit. But yeah, so this is a wild era of the band. Things are obviously going sour, but we have more. Oh my God. This needed to be a long episode. It's the fucking Doors. But I'm assuming you're ready.
I'm ready.
Hell yeah. Okay. This operator is underrated. Fucking give it a chance. Okay. Sorry.
Title track rules.
That was the last one. Okay. Yeah. 1970s. They're finally out of the 60s. This is 1970s Morrison Hotel. We bluesing again.
We bluesing and, at least it's dirty.
It's dirty, but I don't like this. I like this one bit.
I like it when a ZZ Top or a CCR does it.
CCR is special.
Yeah.
They also rarely blues. ZZ Top is special. I don't know why we give them exceptions.
Because they're fucking better.
They're just better. Yeah. To be fair, this is a song I want to hear if I'm at a Roadhouse style bar.
I think we can do better.
Sure, but this isn't gonna piss me off if I walk in and this is bumping.
I don't think anything in the Doors discography is gonna piss me off, but it doesn't make me excited either.
Fair enough. Yeah, this song sounds like a direct response to the entire last album.
Like, okay, we'll try to do something like that first album.
We'll be gritty. We'll bring back the Doors sound. We'll stop playing with horns. That is about as bluesy as it gets. I mean, that's about as bluesy as they've ever been.
Yeah. Also, worst least favorite.
Worst least favorite. We came
did
together
it again.
Dude.
We had like one episode where we
fucking came to blows, basically. But, dude, this album fucking blows.
It's bad.
I couldn't believe it because it's such an iconic cover too.
I don't know why I didn't look. Is Waiting for the Sun a holdover from the fucking album? Like
this? Well, the song "Waiting for the Sun" is on this album. I don't know. I'm assuming it was written later or wasn't finished at the time. I don't know exactly.
That's the only good song. It's fucking.
It is a good song.
It's heavy. It's trippy. It's what I want.
Yeah, it has big, giant, fuzzy keys. It's not the most original thing writing-wise, but it's one of the best songs here for sure. This is the blues album. I mean, there's still blues stuff on the next one, but this is where they're almost making it a point to be bluesy.
And boy, oh boy, is it a slog to listen to.
It's rough. I'm glad it's a short album, but so this is the biggest, aggravation point for me is that the world hated the Soft Parade, and then this comes out and they're like, they're back, baby. Yet today in the year of our Lord 2022, how many of these songs do we hear them playing? And compare it to the last album.
I would say, you got the Roadhouse Blues and then probably Peace Frog / Blue Sunday.
And those, I would say, out of all their hits, I have heard the least.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got at least Touch Me and Wild Child, where those are like huge. And so basically what I'm saying is that history proved that they're fucking stupid. This is not a return to form album. This is their first bad album.
Yeah. There's a lot of mid shit on here.
You Make Me Real.
I fucking hate the piano on that.
There's a lot of bluesy pianos on here,
but it's still continuing that dirty, filthy.
It is very gritty. Yeah.
I think one of the most like offensive songs on here is Land Ho.
Oh, easily one of the worst songs.
That song is only okay if you're making music for a children's TV program, and even then, it's questionable.
It's pretty questionable. It's jaunty, it's fun, I guess, but I like it less every time I hear it. And it's also funny if you put on that song and you put on almost anything from the earlier albums. It's whoa, who the fuck is this? This is such a dip. The Spy is one of the best examples of them being boring blues. That was like peak boring blues.
I didn't know you could write a song about spies and have it be so boring.
There is some stuff I'm fine with on here. Well, Peace Frog, Blue Sunday. It's like I love Blue Sunday and hate Peace Frog.
Yeah,
that's basically how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's fine for it's better than a lot of other shit on here.
Ship of Fools is. I think it's fairly underwhelming, but it has a cool section in the middle. I think it's better on multiple listens.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very nice, odd rhythm to it. I do like the drums in that song. But again, it's just like everything on here feels like a watered down version of anything they've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Queen of the Highway is cool. I think it's on the darker side. It feels a little bigger and more spacious compared to the other songs, at least production wise.
I do still hate it though.
I don't mind it. Indian Summer is it's very reminiscent of The End. Mm-hmm. Obviously weaker, but I think it's pretty relaxing. It's nice. It's very mellow. It's in that same vein.
I think I was fuming by the time Queen of the Highway came on. So
you rode that anger.
I rode that anger, and then
I think the final 3 tracks aren't too bad. Maggie McGill is the best blues song on here. If we're gonna pick one of those,
yeah, it's not as cliche as the other ones.
No, but it is for sure their weakest closer. Period.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about that. It's not, man. I do think like not everything, like nothing on here is god awful except for Land Hope, perhaps, but it's all just a forgettable, weaker version of everything they've ever done.
Yeah. There's this like, I don't know. I've listened to Strange Days. I can't fucking listen to this album.
Yeah, and the most baffling thing of all, this album, I think took 9 months to do. This is they took the longest making this album.
That is fucking absurd because this is like the most creatively bankrupt album they have.
Easily. And I don't know what the consensus is these days because they still consider, well, at least what you read online, people still consider this operated as the worst album, which is how could you when this exists? I mean, holy shit. Oh my God.
I think this kind of had such a short lifespan that all the records are kind of held in a little bit of
esteem.
Some esteem where maybe a band like Rolling Stones has 1 million albums. So you can
probably be a little bit more harsh, I guess.
Yeah, we're spending our time, but all things considered, this is a pretty manageable short discography. All things considered,
very short albums and with like very few misses. Maybe not everyone's favorite band ever, but this is like the only one I was like, Jesus Christ, I have to hear this twice. Ugh.
Yeah, I felt it.
So at the suggestion of Rothschild, The band went for a grittier sound. Apparently, they're still, according to Densmore, they were still taking 12 to 15 takes per song.
Oh my God, I would have quit.
Of these songs?
Of these
Yes.
songs, yes. Soft Parade, I would be like, I can see the vision. Maybe I'll dedicate myself to that. But these songs, I'm like, it's over and over again.
It really is. They had Lonnie Mack on bass for Roadhouse Blues. I think he intimidated the band quite a bit just because he was so I don't know he was like a real badass.
Real badass. Probably played in a few roadhouses.
Oh, most definitely. He knew Sam Elliott. I think even Jim was like shy around him, which is pretty funny. John Sebastian of the 11 Spoonful played harmonica on Roadhouse, but he insisted on being credited as G. Pugliese, because he was embarrassed to be associated with the Doors after the Miami incident.
Understandable.
I know, and that's so around this time, like that's where they were getting,
now the legal comes in.
Yeah, and it was a whole to do. Man, like it's so wild how that you take that incident and you put it today and it's just a non-issue. Like it is nothing. There's nothing there.
Yeah, I think like now with like everyone has a camera now, it'd be like
There'll be video evidence that he didn't do that for one.
Yeah.
But also David Yao, man. I mean, there was dicks all over the place on a lot of bands that we've covered on this pod.
And we haven't even got to G.G. Allen yet.
Haven't even done G.G. Allen, and that is a little worse.
But objectively the worst.
It is by law the worst. So in 1970, they were booked for the Isle of Wight Festival. 2 days later, Morrison was supposed to attend court in Florida, which was on a Monday morning. I think it was a bad set. It was a bad show. Jim was
probably should have canceled.
Basically, he was like comatose on stage. Basically, he was awake, but he wasn't doing anything. And then, of course, The Who comes on next and annihilates, fucking murders, dude.
That is, if you're on drugs and drunk as fuck, you do not want to play the same bill as The Who.
They are a force at that time.
Especially with Keith Moon.
Oh, that's a shame. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
At least they didn't close it.
Oh shit! That would have been a bigger.
That would have been humiliating.
Yeah.
Actually, because I mentioned, the cover of this album is super iconic. I think it's one of the best covers. I think it's a very cool cover. And I was surprised to hear the backstory was even neater. It was a real hotel, the Morrison Hotel, which is now like it was shut down
Something
for years.
Else, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think they renovate. Is it renovated?
Yeah,
I was going to say re-renovated, and I realized that was stupid. So now it's like not a memorial, but like a museum type, homage to the actual hotel. But at the time, it was just a regular hotel, and maybe it was because of the bad publicity from the Miami incident, which I'm assuming this is what it was. But that hotel manager was like, "Nah, no pictures." Fuck it. And they were like, we'll give you money. Like, yeah, don't care. Fucking scram.
He just turned into a New Yorker.
I'm sure. Yeah. Who says he wasn't, even though it wasn't in New York, he was in LA.
He might have been.
But refused. So they did the next best thing. Who's that took the photo? I forget his name. Sorry about that. But he goes outside.
Henry Diltz.
There we go. Thank you.
Great last name.
Good name.
Yeah.
He goes outside across the street, nonchalantly. The band goes back into the lobby casually. They run and they sit right in front of the window facing outside, and he takes a photo from across the street, and then they scram before the fucking manager comes to kick him out.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Very punk rock.
Hell yeah. And they took the rest of the photos at the Hard Rock Cafe across the street, I think, who were more than welcoming.
Yeah.
So this album went down fucking very well with critics, and they were all happy, and like, our Doors is back, thank goodness. So he went to court. He was found not guilty of gross lewdness and lascivious behavior, but he was found guilty of vulgar and indecent exposure and indecent language or vulgar and indecent language. But the other charges were felonies. So he managed to dodge the felony, and got stuck with the others, which he was still fighting by the time he died. But anyway, we got one more left.
Yes.
We're tired. We're tired in this episode. They were tired as a band. It has been a long journey.
I shouldn't have talked about those movies.
Who gives a fuck? But here we are. They had one album deal with Elektra. They were bound by contract. I forgot what the whole shit with everything was, but basically they had one more to go and they just needed to put this out. And here we go. Oh boy. This is, and my voice is hanging on by a thread. 1971's LA Woman.
Man, that dirty bass.
Oh, that sounds good.
More funk driven than blues here, at least.
Yeah, it's funky blues and it feels pretty good.
Shout out to that James Brown album, Show Is Funky.
Oh, is it the instrumental one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where James Brown plays the organ. A lot of cool shit that I think is better than this.
But in the same vein.
In the same vein.
There is so much more liveliness in this production.
There is, yeah. It's not perfect, but
I really like Jim's voice in this whole album. It is so destroyed by booze, and he's so gruff. He really sounds like his weight at this time. Pretty cool opener. Pretty cool opener.
not a bad song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried this was more of the same, but I think there is some more energy to it, like you said.
This album is, well, it's not one of their best, but goddamn, is it pretty good. It definitely makes the last album look a lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, that last album's a low bar, but I like the stuff towards the end here.
Save for Crawling King Snake, the cover by John Lee Hooker, which I can't stand. I agree. There's a lot of really, so there is still some blue stuff on here that I can't really get behind. Been Down So Long isn't that bad, but it's still very bluesy. I mean, Jim sounds fucking gruff on that song.
Yeah, I can't imagine writing a song like that when you've like been to such highs as, some of their best stuff.
It's pretty basic, and Cars Hiss by My Window, I think, is really it's probably the worst song on the album.
It's doubly offensive because it's right after Been Down So Long. So like you get a generic blues song and now you get a slower generic blues song.
It's pretty rough.
But let me tell you, L'America. What's that song doing on this album? I'm glad it's on here, but what's it doing on here?
It is fucking wild. It is. So, I mean, there's one moment where it shits all over itself and goes bluesy, but even that's excusable because of how crazy the song is.
The rest is, yeah.
It is so awesome. It's so dark. The intro is basically some doom metal shit.
Yeah, that's probably why I liked it.
It's fucking crazy. Very ugly, very almost sinister. Love Her Madly. I'm actually surprised I like it. And
it's really crazy how they can like pull out a single that's just like all their singles. Could this be put on the same album?
They really could.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't matter what kind of vibe the record is. They're somehow they just reach in and there's like, here's like one or two songs
that are going to make us a bunch of money. Yeah. Everyone's going to love.
Yeah.
I do. So one thing that blew my mind, I'm listening to that song and I'm like, man, Jim sounds like he's fucking singing in a bathroom. And apparently he was.
Nice.
Which is hilarious. I'm pretty sure I read that. I think I don't know if it's, maybe they didn't specify which song, but they said on this album he was singing recording his tracks in the doorway of a bathroom. It's like fucking no shit, huh?
Yeah.
But so what else? The title track. I mean, we can spend a whole bunch of time on the title track.
I always like to pretend he's like mumbling and not saying real words. This makes it more fun for me.
Love it. I think it's one of their best songs. It is. It's fuck.
I don't really.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, especially that clean section around 3 minutes in. Oh, such beautiful arpeggios there. Ooh, I love the whole thing.
A song that caught me by surprise, Hyacinth House.
Hyacinth House.
It's just so nice.
It is
so relaxing.
It's so happy, especially following L'America.
Yeah.
It is. That is what you call good pacing. Just fucking mixing it up right there. I am really surprised that no one talks about the Wasp.
I feel like I've heard people talk about it.
Really? I've never heard anybody talk about it.
I feel like, and like on paper, I think I hate the Wasp on paper, but then I listened to it, and that song rules. That's one of the few like blues songs that's like justifiable.
It's great. It is great. Yeah. Looking at it now, like on my notes, this is a weirdly diverse album. Like it seems like it's like, oh, it's the later
blues
era.
on the surface.
Exactly. You think it's a bluesy album. It's really only a couple like 3 blues tracks or 4
I
blues
think they're
tracks.
just so like overwhelming.
They are pretty exhausting, but the rest are really individualistic and unlike most of their catalog. And then of course the closer, Riders in the Storm. I think it's my favorite closer of theirs.
Yeah, I wrote for my thoughts on Riders of the Storm, see my thoughts on the end. It's pretty much, I know it's gigantic, I know it's long, I know it's a big song, but it's fucking good.
It is phenomenal. And I still don't think it's like as perfect of a song as When the Music's Over, but I happen to just love it. Those keys melt me, dude.
They're just iconic at this point.
Yep. And the bass line is one of my favorite bass lines of all time. Even in my jaded teen years when I was all into thrash and hardcore punk or whatever the fuck, I'm at like a buddy's house and they're getting drunk. And then in the background, because it's East LA, Riders on the Storm comes on. And I'm like, God damn, that's a good song. Like, oh, fuck, I can't deny it. Even at this age, I can't deny it.
That's when you're smoking weed.
Yeah, but you know, they were trash people. They were doing it all. They were drinking literally. And I'm not kidding. The memory I'm thinking of, I remember exactly where I was. I remember who I was with. And I remember they were drinking Mad Dog 2020s.
Hell yeah. That's when you know it's a good night. If there's Mad Dog, if there's 211, it's going down.
I think they were playing that fucking marble game too. What the hell is that?
Mancala?
Is that what that's called?
Where you scoop them up and you move them over. And like if there's 3 in, you move 3 down.
It was so boring watching them do that.
Man, I would think like Domino, fucking Mancala.
Dude, I didn't even know it was called Mancala. It sounds like a wrestler.
Yeah. I'm not going to say anything where I think that's from, but not from America. So
not from not America.
Not L'America.
No, sir. Yeah, far from perfect, but better than I expected. It would still has some of their best songs on here, which is like, it's the only album. Well, no, sorry. The last album was the only album that didn't have any of their best songs on it. So it's like, you really, yeah. This is just as good, really, as most of their albums. Really surprising though, because they should have been dead at this point.
Well, that's not far off.
It is not far off, but in terms of recording, this is where they're like, we're done with Rothschild. And by that, I mean, Rothschild refused to work with them. He showed up at one of the early rehearsals for this and he was already just distraught because that was the same time Janis Joplin died and he had to finish her album by himself. So he's already like just wits end, and
she's dead. Where am I supposed to get the other 99 takes from?
It's true. Did push the people. And I think he hated Love Her Madly. And I think he liked him. I think he really liked Riders on the Storm and LA Woman. He's like, okay, those are fucking great. But Love Her Madly, he was just angry and pissed off at that song. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm out. Nah. So he just refused to work on the album.
I would love to have that kind of clout where you can just tell huge bands like this song's utter dog shit.
Yeah, and it's fucking, especially when it blows up and it's actually a good song and it does. Oh, Jesus Christ! So, longtime engineer Bruce Bodnick, he recorded the band. It was produced by The Doors and Bruce, but because of that shift, they started recording a song a day, and they were done lickety split. Whew. And how much better is this album than the last one?
Yes, I guess, The Doors, they got a week to write songs. Anything after that?
Yeah. So obviously Jim is not doing so bad. I mean, sorry, he's not doing so good.
Well, yeah.
Not doing good at all. Not doing no well. On Sundays, according to Densmore, he says when we were off, he would go to bars, get drunk, and crash his car. It was as if something started real early in Jim, got channeled into creativity temporarily, and was going to get him one way or another. What a Final Destination way to look at it. They obviously edited Riders on the Storm down to fit radio time.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a great job. Apparently, even Ray couldn't even spot where the edit was. They cut out all his solos just to make it fit. But they did well, of course. And then this is where it happened. It was the day before Morrison died. He called Densmore. And this is a brutal conversation. It is so dark. And this is the conversation. This is according to Densmore. He says, the phone rang on a Thursday morning. Hey, man, how you doing? Said the voice I knew only too well, the whiskeyed voice that struck terror in me. Hi, Jim, I replied tentatively, thinking that he was the last person in the world I wanted to talk to. How is it over there? How was France? Okay, not bad. How's LA Woman doing? He didn't sound loaded. Too early in the morning? Wait a minute. I thought it's early evening there. Bad sign when the booze hound is not boozing. Weirdly. He said, great. It's really doing great. I Love Her Madly is a hit and everyone really likes the album. What I was not going to tell him was that we had already started rehearsing without him. We'd done it before, but this time I had an eye for going on without him. As hard as it was to admit it, I couldn't bear the thought of going through another recording session with the rock and roll world's Dr. Jekyll. And then Jim said, oh, maybe we should do another one. Sure, Jim, good idea. The most there answer I could even imagine.
Yeah.
And I guess he felt a little bit guilty because he didn't want to ever see him again. He had no interest in working with him ever again. And then, he didn't. A day later, he was dead. And of course, everyone knows like the mystery behind that. Mm-hmm. No autopsy done. He found in the bathtub by his lady friend. His long. I forgot her name. She was like his main squeeze. They basically considered her his wife at the point. It was I think it counted as common law under California law. So she inherited all of his stuff and this is all, whatever. I think she's dead too, but wait, she's definitely dead.
I have no idea who this woman is.
I forgot her name. Pamela Corson. She was like on and off again, kind of lady friend, but she was like the main squeeze. She was like basically his wife, like the one that stuck by him and encouraged him and all that. And she is dead. Yes. Of course. I think she died young. Yeah. She, 3 years after.
Goddamn.
1974. Goddamn. That's depressing.
Who got all her stuff?
That's a good question. We're going to track them all down. Yeah. So, our boy Tom says, looking back after Morrison's death, Densmore realized the extent of Morrison's alcoholism leading up to his death. Yeah. Apparently like he'd gone to the bars where he would go to drink or Jim would go drink, and the bartenders were talking about him like, oh yeah, he's always here. He outdrank everybody. And he's like, oh shit. I guess he didn't even know he was that much of a booze hound.
That's kind of wild. Not
looking at all the things that we talked about and all the things that happened. Like, how do you not?
Yeah.
How do you not? Like,
yeah. I guess if you're living that rock and roll lifestyle and everyone is drinking, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they're all very, very fucked up, but clearly one is more fucked up.
I mean, they had to get him drunk before the night before a show to have a good show.
How does that not give you every answer you need? Holy shit. So yeah, that happened, and the band carried on without Morrison for 2 albums that no one talks about, and then reemerged in 78 for an album of Morrison's spoken word put to music. So this is what Densmore said about Other Voices, the album that 1971, the first album without Morrison. Oh boy, he says, back at our studio where only months before we had recorded our comeback album, quote unquote, as the critics were already calling it, where Jim had recorded his vocals from the funky bathroom. The evening session for what eventually became the Other Voices album was lifeless. I flailed madly at my drums, but my heart wasn't in it. My mind kept going back to the early days, the cruising days with Jim around the canals of Venice, with the radio blaring out the hot hits of the summer of '66, while we discovered psychedelics and girls and meditation, and it looked like we were going to change the world and change it now. What a fucking sad image. Oh,
damn.
Boy.
God damn. Excited to listen to those albums.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Loose ends. We'll do a loose ends. Oh, boy. In 2001, they put on a show for VH1 with a host of guest singers, including Mike and Alex's favorite, Perry Farrell.
The opposite. The opposite of Dave Matthews.
Oh, what a fucking scumbag. I do like his voice, though. I do like Perry Farrell's voice. Scumbag, though.
Coming down the mountain.
This led to a tour with Ian Astbury of The Cult on vocals. Apparently didn't go so well, though.
I remember that.
Really? What happened?
Well, not that it didn't go so well, but when it was announced that Ian was going to like do a tour with the Doors, and at the time I was like, that makes sense. Ian's very Jim Morrison like, well liked singer in a well liked bluesy rock and roll band. This seems like a great idea, but
apparently not.
You know what Ian Astbury did end up doing, and I don't know if they toured with him, but he ended up doing an album or an EP with Boris.
Really? What the fuck?
I like it. I think it's rad. But
Boris is a fucking unpredictable band.
He went the opposite. He's like, no, I don't want to do stadiums. Bring me Boris.
Bring me a band that doesn't speak English that no one wants to listen to.
They're not going to argue with me. Let's do it.
God, I love Boris. Oh, shit. But that's it. We're done. Go home. Thanks so much for listening and watching and hanging out.
This is the end.
Let's do a little recap. It's a very simple recap. We have the same picks.
Best personal favorite, Strange Days, even if you don't love the Doors.
You might love that album.
Yes.
It is peak. It is peak, baby. And Worsley's favorite, Morrison Hotel. If you don't like blues, you won't like the album. And it also is the easily most forgettable.
Lackluster.
It is I think it's their only weak album, honestly. Yeah, I think I'm content with that statement. Thanks so much for listening and watching and hanging out. If you like the video, like the video. And if you want to talk shit to us, there's comments for that. And you can also leave your picks for best and worst. Leave some anecdotes about the band. I'm sure everybody has some kind of history with this band. Who the fuck doesn't know the goddamn Doors? There's also a playlist on Spotify. There's a link to that in the description. We got playlists associated with most episodes. You can find all those at everyalbumever.com. You can follow me on all social media at PandaMonkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
Hell yeah. Please follow our history guy, Tom Osman, who put in a whole bunch of work for us, gave us all this lore. You can find him on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tom Osman Sounds, as well as his Substack, tomosman.substack.com, and his debut album, So Much for All in a Day's Work, which you can find a link to in the description as well. In addition to my debut EP, Pounder Monkey, so listen to that as well. Thank you. Lastly, not leastly, patreon.com/everyalbumever. Hell yes. There we got bonus episodes. You get to see our schedule in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we're covering next. You get to join our little Discord community and throw out suggestions for our EAE singles episodes. We pick them all out from Discord. And if you're tier 2, if you're bigger than Jesus, then you can suggest a full discography for us to cover, and we will put it right on the schedule. It might take us a year to get to it. Maybe, well, not literally, but close to it. It'll take us a while to get to it, but we will be on the schedule and an episode will be made. So do that. Thank you. Okay. I think there's only one song we got to end it with.
I agree.
Your Lost Little Girl?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.